Hello, everyone, and welcome to our UC Berkeley virtual campus visit today. We're very excited to share our campus life with you. Before we start, I just want to say that we acknowledge there is a lot happening in the world right now, and we really do appreciate you guys taking an hour out of your day today to spend with us and learn about our campus. With that being said, I want to start with a self-introduction. Hello, everyone. My name is Jade. I use she, her, hers pronouns, and I'll be your moderator for today. I am from Long Island, New York. My town is called Great Neck. This is my third year at Berkeley, and I am studying psychology and economics. Next, onto some housekeeping items about our virtual visit today. Our presentation today will be 40 to 45 minutes long, where our two wonderful campus ambassadors, Kevin and Navya, will be talking about many aspects of our student life here at Berkeley and sharing their student perspective with all of you guys. Note that the chat function for this webinar has been disabled, so please ask any and all questions using the Q&A function on the bottom of your screen. In addition to the ambassadors you see on camera today, we also have several ambassadors on the back end that are ready to type answers to all your questions too. So please ask away at any point throughout the entire tour. Also during the tour, you'll be seeing polls pop up on your screen. That's just because we want to learn a little bit more about you guys and try to tailor the presentation to better fit your needs. So please fill those out if you see them pop up. If you miss any information during the tour today, do not worry because we do have different versions of this virtual visit recorded and posted on our website, so you can always check out those after today's visit if you would like to do so. Like I said in the beginning, this presentation is brought to you by our campus ambassadors, so we'll be offering a student perspective, and that means there will be no information about admissions or financial aid. We can, of course, redirect you to those websites if that's necessary, but if you have any specific questions on those topics, we recommend you checking out their websites and contact those departments. There's also a separate admissions presentation if that's something you're interested in. Lastly, after the presentation, there will be a Q&A session live with the two ambassadors on camera today, and we'll do our very best to answer all of your questions live. So like I said, please send in those questions throughout the entire visit. Now, I'm very excited to be handing it over to our two amazing campus ambassadors for today, Kevin and Navya. Please take it away, guys.
All right, thanks, Jade. So I'm going to introduce myself now. So my name's Kevin. My pronouns are he, him, his, and I am from this place called Granite Bay, California. It's basically like 15 minutes from Sacramento, so basically Sacramento. This is my fourth and final year here at Berkeley. I'm studying computer science and data science, and a few of the things I do around campus are, when there's not COVID, I'm on our men's club volleyball team, so uh, we'll talk about sports later on and how you guys can get involved with that. I also really enjoy like teaching and education. So a few things I do are this club called Berkeley Nova, which goes around to underserved communities throughout the Bay Area, and we just teach computer science to kids every week. And I'm also involved with just helping to run a few of the classes offered here at Berkeley, our introductory CS class, and I guess our advanced data science class. And also I do research at Lawrence Berkeley National Lab, so we'll also talk more about research and how to get involved with that as well.
Thanks, Kevin. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Cal Virtually. My name is Navya. My pronouns are she, her, hers. I grew up on the East Coast in Massachusetts. However, I went to high school here in the Bay in Dublin, California. I am also a senior in my final year, final semester at Cal, which is very bittersweet to say. I am double majoring here in public health and molecular cellular biology. Some of the things that I'm involved in on campus. Firstly, I do biomedical research, specifically CRISPR research, if you're familiar with that. I am involved in a number of nonprofit organizations. Firstly, Asha for Education, which is based in India, and the other is Reach Shirati, which is based in Tanzania. And I also spent some time as a teacher scholar for the organic chemistry department. I am also pre-med, so if you have questions about any of those things or any of the things Kevin mentioned as well, please feel free to go ahead and ask your questions in the Q&A.
All right, so real quick, we're going to be launching a poll to kind of see who our audience is, but also I'm sure a lot of you guys are newly admitted students, so congratulations on that. Hopefully this tour will provide some good information and it will help you make your decision. So This slide is just kind of a welcome slide for Berkeley to kind of give an overview. So uh, our university is really, really old. This year is our 153rd year of being a university, and last year we celebrated 150 years of women at Berkeley. So just 2 years after the university was founded, women were allowed to study here, and that really speaks to what Berkeley is kind of all about, kind of standing up for what is right, and just a culture of being change makers. A few of the pictures here. The top left is our football team in California Memorial Stadium. So when COVID's not a thing anymore, the football games are a lot of fun. The stadium's really nice, and there's a lot of student excitement there. Uh, and the center picture is one of our bears that we have on campus. We have tons of bears, so if you're ever on campus, try your best to find them all if you can. I think this one's called Sturdy Bear. So yeah, Navya will go over an overview on the next slide.
Great. So this tour is going to cover a number of different topics, hoping to give you a better idea of what it's like to be a student at Cal. So we'll go over the history of our campus, the history of the city of Berkeley. We'll be talking about student life via housing and dining, health and safety resources, student life in general, any athletics you want to get involved in, definitely research, libraries you can study at, and of course, what all of this looks like in the remote setting. So stick around for more information.
All right, so real quick overview again. I mentioned earlier our university was 153 years old, so that means, with some quick math, we were founded in 1868, and oftentimes you'll hear us called like Cal or just University of California, and that is because we are actually the first university in the University of California, the school system. So since we are the original, we kind of are just known as Cal or California. Um, our mascot is the golden bear, and Oski is actually like our real mascot. He's pictured in the top left, so you'll see him around campus sometimes, and especially during game days. We are a public university, so our campus is on the larger side. We have around 30,000 undergraduates and close to 12,000 graduate students. Even though our campus is really large, it still feels like really small to me, small and intimate. So don't let the large size kind of like intimidate you. And then a few historical landmarks of our campus that are pictured here. The top right shows a GIF of the Campanile. This is our clock and bell tower. And if you have the chance to visit campus, definitely try to go up if you can. There's a really nice view of the campus as well as into San Francisco and into Oakland. The bottom left picture shows Sproul Plaza, which is home to the free speech movement. And then the bottom right picture is Sather Gate, which is featured in a few of I guess movies. So for those who have seen like Ant-Man and the Wasp, there's a scene where kind of like Ant-Man and the Wasp are like, trying to look for like a professor, and they actually came to like Berkeley's campus and used this as part of the shot. So that was really cool. And then for those who have seen Monsters University, this is also featured in that. It's kind of like the intro scene where they're going into the university. Um, there's actually a Pixar studio in Oakland, so it's really close, and they just came by and sketched a few drawings and used it. So it's all very cool.
Thanks, Kevin. I also love telling people those fun facts about Berkeley in the movies. Next, we want to introduce this idea of campus culture. This is, quite frankly, the reason that I chose to come to Berkeley. I think it's one of the reasons that Berkeley kind of stands out as a public institution. First and foremost, all of our staff, students, alumni, the entire network in the community of Berkeley is filled with change makers. Previously, Kevin mentioned the free speech movement and free speech in general. Hopefully this is something you're familiar with. However, if you are not, just as a background, the 1960s was a time of tons of political voice and commentary and commotion, and this is something that was unfortunately not allowed to be spoken about on a college campus. However, Berkeley students, being the beautiful voices that they are, they felt like this was not right, and they decided to do something about it. So they led this entire movement called the free speech movement, kind of serving to introduce those voices into our daily lives. So the free speech movement became something that is really, really central to the Berkeley culture. Berkeley is now something of a free speech haven. That's what I love to tell people. I really believe that we have people all across the political spectrum with a number of different views. Our campus is wildly diverse. Even though we are a public institution, we have a number of students coming from out of state. We have a number of students coming from international countries. So with that comes a lot of different opinions and values, all of which are equally respected. And that's something I really appreciate about being here. Next, of course, all of our students in some capacity, they are leaders, they are challenging the status quo, they are, working on entrepreneurship projects, they're getting involved in research and innovation. And you really, really understand this when you get to know Berkeley a little bit more. You learn about the different research projects, you learn about our Nobel laureates. It's really this environment of compassion and passion and social justice. I think public service is absolutely something that is central to the Berkeley community, whether it's through law, whether it's through political science or public health, or even something like computer science. Kevin is giving back to his own community by tutoring these students in his own community. So that's something that's really special. I think that is definitely consistent across much of the students that I see at Cal. And even going into postgraduate opportunities, I'm currently in a position where I'm looking for jobs and things, and I know my peers are doing the same thing. Berkeley is actually one of the biggest feeders into AmeriCorps, Teach for America, and the Peace Corps. So you can really get an idea of what all of our Berkeley students are looking to do. And that's something, again, that I really value about being here. I think it's completely unparalleled, that kind of energy of wanting to give back to your community and do something larger than life, get your degree and do something with it. I think is just the best thing about Cal. And hopefully you get an idea of that throughout this tour.
Awesome. Yeah, I think Navya gave a great description of what Berkeley stands for, but just to emphasize a little more, like we've mentioned, we're all about being change makers and changing the world to be a better place. So the top left, there's a demonstration by a few of our students who I think are talking about financial aid. So they're really standing up for what they believe is right. And of course, like Navya said, we are the leaders of innovation. And so in the middle two pictures, we see the top person's doing some research, and the bottom is working on developing robots. And of course, uh, Berkeley is not only about kind of just school, school, school. We're really passionate about our campus and school spirit as well. So at the bottom left, that is our band and our cheerleading team performing at one of our noon rallies, which happen every time we have a home game day here at Berkeley. And then the top right is a picture of RallyCom. These are the students who are responsible for kind of promoting school spirit during game days.
Great. So next, we wanted to touch upon our global impact as a public institution. First and foremost, Berkeley is the #1 public research university, and with that comes top-notch education. All of our departments are really focused on access and scalability, something that was, of course, especially important in the last year across the COVID-19 pandemic. So we have a program called the Student Tech Program, which even in a non-COVID time was really serving to help students gain access to laptops and computers and softwares. All UC Berkeley students get access to something called the Creative Cloud, which gives you a number of different applications that you can work on your school projects with. You get Adobe Illustrator, you get Photoshop, you get just everything you could possibly need on your laptop, which is incredible. And especially in the past year, there were a number of students who, they had to go home, or they found themselves in a situation where they didn't have access to stable Wi-Fi, or they didn't have a laptop or an iPad or something like that. And the university was actually able to support those students and provide those resources through this very program. Similarly, kind of in line with our commitment to helping our community, we have a number of different youth programs that we run even in a non-COVID time. However, in the last year, many of these programs have transitioned into a remote format. One in particular that I love to share is the College of Chemistry, one of our 5 colleges here on campus. They run a program called the Science for Youth Intensive Program. Essentially, the idea is that high school students from the Bay Area are paired with faculty members and research groups at UC Berkeley in the College of Chemistry, and they go on this 9-month program of remote coaching and training. And I believe there's a shadowing procedure as well, where they can just get a better sense of what research and academia is like at Berkeley. So I think that's something incredibly special. Next, COVID research. Of course, again, we are the #1 public research university. With that comes a number of different research opportunities and different ventures. One in particular has, of course, been COVID-19. I was grateful enough to be involved in some of the research that the Innovative Genomics Institute had completed. In the bottom right corner, you're seeing Dr. Jennifer Doudna. She just won the Nobel Prize in chemistry. She was streamlining efforts for asymptomatic saliva testing, basically just a way to screen UC Berkeley students for COVID-19. And that was a really great way. Trial testing is really the initial way that we were able to understand how COVID-19 is spreading and how we could do research and develop vaccines accordingly. So I think that's definitely in line with our, biological, cultural, and economic impact in general. We are really committed, again, to access and scalability in a number of different ways. Now we have screening, again, asymptomatic free screening for all UC Berkeley students living in the residence halls, and students living in off-campus apartments are required to get tested either once or twice a week. And again, that is completely free of charge. It's really easy to make an appointment online. Honestly, it just gives me something to do, just walk to one of our gyms and just get my COVID test really quick and come back. And it's a nice little walk, something I really appreciate. Finally, advocacy and social justice, again, something that is incredibly huge and has been incredibly exacerbated in the last year. Human rights, anti-racism is a commitment that we have all made as UC Berkeley community members. And a number of my public health classes, they have made a commitment to incorporating anti-racist ideals and practices into the curriculum, which I think is really special. And of course, given a pandemic with students going home and dealing with a number of issues, resiliency, preventing trauma and burnout has been a really important part of mental health and really providing for our students. So whether it be counseling or whether it be, peer groups or social groups, there's just a number of ways that the university has really committed to supporting our students and supporting our community.
Awesome. Thanks, Navya. So now we will transition into talking about our undergraduate college system here. So right now we have launched a poll to kind of gauge everybody's interests and what they're interested in studying. While you're filling out the poll, I'll kind of give an overview of the undergraduate college system. So we have 5 main undergraduate colleges that students can study in. Those are the College of Letters and Sciences, the College of Natural Resources, the College of Environmental Design, College of Chemistry, and the College of Engineering. We'll have a slide for each of these that go into more detail. But really quickly, I wanted to make a note about the differences between kind of like applying directly into a college and having the ability to transfer between colleges. So if you're interested in studying something in the College of Chemistry or in Engineering, you have to apply directly into those colleges and be accepted into whatever you're studying. Whereas for the other 3 colleges, if you choose like change majors or want to switch colleges, generally it's pretty easy to switch between those colleges. So just a quick, I guess, like side note.
Okay, so looking at the poll, looks like a lot of you are interested in physical sciences, social sciences, biological sciences, engineering. This is great. We have a good diversity here. So first, we wanted to touch on the College of Letters and Science. This is our largest college here on campus. This is where about 3/4 of our undergraduates live, and it houses 5 different divisions that are listed here. We have arts and humanities, biological sciences, math and physical sciences, social science, and undergraduate studies. So you can see that these divisions are rather broad. Because of that, we do have over 80 different majors and a number of different minors to choose from. And this is actually something that I really appreciate about being a letters and science student. I came into Berkeley as a freshman being very overwhelmed by how diverse this college is and being worried about whether or not I'm going to fulfill all of my requirements. But the College of Letters and Science has this requirement for all students in which we have to complete 7 courses across 7 different interdisciplinary subjects, very similar to the 5 divisions listed here. So you're required to take 1 class in each one of those 7 subjects at some point across your undergraduate career. And I have found these subjects to be some of the best classes that I have taken at Berkeley. Something that I really loved in high school was music, and it's something that I was hoping to pursue in college. I was really hoping to do a music minor. It didn't happen to work out with my course schedule because I chose to double major. However, I was actually able to fulfill a number of those breadth requirements, those 7 subjects, through the music department, and that was really great. I got, a little bit of a different break in my day. I would go to chemistry, in the morning, and then I'd go to music class in the afternoon, and that was really great. So that's something I absolutely appreciate about the College of Letters and Science. And again, I mentioned previously, Dr. Jennifer Doudna, she won a Nobel Prize most recently. She's in the College of Chemistry. However, 25 of our total Nobel 17 out of the 25 total Nobel Prizes do actually come from the Letters and Science College. Again, that's really just a testament to how diverse this college is and just the different subjects that you can really take part in.
All right, up next is the College of Natural Resources. So this college is one that has an environmental focus. So if you're interested in studying a major related to the environment, this would be a good place. The primary focus of this college is trying to kind of focus on sustainability and justice, just trying to make sure that like the world we live in is still able to, you know, be alive, and we're not just kind of like taking it for granted. A few of the majors that we have are listed here: biological sciences, nutrition, toxicology, ecosystem management, interdisciplinary studies, social sciences, and then economics and policy that focus on the environment. A few of the pictures here are at the top left. A few of the students are performing a restoration on Strawberry Creek, which is a creek that runs throughout our entire campus from the east side all the way to the west side. Um, the bottom two pictures kind of show like where the College of Natural Resources is kind of centered. The bottom right picture is Li Ka-shing building, and then the top right shows kind of some research done by some of our students.
Next, we have the College of Environmental Design. This just so happens to be our smallest college here on campus, has about 650 students. This college is home to 4 majors. There's architecture, which is actually ranked number 4 globally, which I think is incredible. We have landscape architecture, urban studies, and sustainable environmental design. You're seeing the motto for CED here. Sorry, there we go. And I think CED is one of those colleges that I really appreciate, even though I'm not in the College of Environmental Design. Hearing about the different opportunities that are available to students within this college is incredible. Something that I learned actually from a previous campus ambassador is that all students within the College of Environmental Design, they actually get their own, I guess, makerspace sort of studio desk situation. They get full access to hundreds and thousands of dollars of equipment that they can use for their personal projects, school projects, class projects, club projects, whatever it may be. So you're seeing an example of that in the top right picture. The bottom right picture is Bauer Wurster Hall, which is kind of home to CED. This building actually also has one of our libraries. It's the College of Environmental Design Library, not just for CED students. In fact, I used to go there a lot. It's a really beautiful, quiet library, really close to campus, really, on the opposite side of the street to a number of different restaurants. So it's really easy to just go there and study there. So I think this is definitely one of our greatest colleges.
All right, next we have the College of Chemistry. I feel like Navya should be doing this one, but I will do my best here. So the College of Chemistry is one of our smaller colleges. There's only about 1,000 students, but if you're really interested in chemistry, this is definitely the place to do it because our chemistry program is ranked number 1 globally. There's nowhere else better than here. And we actually only have 3 majors: chemistry, chemical engineering, and chemical biology. And so the reason why we're so well renowned is because we've done a lot of innovation and research regarding various topics in the field of chemistry. So um, so we've actually discovered a total of 16 elements, which is a lot of elements. These include like berkelium, californium, einsteinium, americanium, like all the ones kind of at the bottom of the table that you'll never use in your calculations when you're doing like chemistry problems, but they're just kind of there. But it's really cool because those are all the ones that we've discovered. Also, for those who have taken a chemistry class, you guys are probably familiar with like the Lewis dot structure system. And that was actually invented here by our very own, Professor Lewis, who was just teaching, introductory chemistry and came up with this method of representing the electrons around an element. And, he taught it and it kind of stuck. And now it's pretty much like standard curriculum throughout the world. So that's just a few examples of, the innovation and research is kind of coming out of our chemistry program here.
That was great, Kevin. Even though you might not have taken a chemistry class, I feel pretty sold on that. I think Kevin did a great job. Chemistry is probably the college I would be in if I wasn't in the College of Letters and Science. Again, I'm pre-med, so I have to take a lot of chemistry and organic chemistry classes. And when I came into Cal learning that Berkeley was #1, I was a bit intimidated, but I found that these were some of the best classes, best science classes that I've taken at Cal. The professors are just completely unparalleled. So love the College of Chem. Next, and finally, we have the College of Engineering. This is home to 11 majors across 3,800 different students. And this is one of those colleges where you do have to apply directly. In addition to the College of Chemistry, you kind of apply directly to the major that you're interested in, and then you'll typically get accepted into that major because they have a limited number of seats per major. And actually, all of the majors across this college are ranked top 9 globally. So that's a really big deal. I love to tell people that just to give them an idea of how incredible this college is. I know a lot of my peers in the College of Engineering really love it. There is a number of different, theory classes versus practice classes, studio classes, lots of opportunities to build things and get access to equipment. So you're kind of seeing that in the bottom right picture. We do also have a separate engineering virtual visit if you're interested in learning more, an entire hour dedicated just to that. But College of Engineering is definitely highly, highly regarded. I know a lot of my peers that are seniors looking for jobs now. They are getting placed in every Fortune 500 company you could possibly dream of, and they're going on to do big things. So definitely check out the engineering virtual visit if you are interested in learning more.
All right, so that wraps up our discussion of undergraduate colleges. So really quickly, we'll talk about graduate schools that we have here at Berkeley. So first and foremost, we have the Haas School of Business. So this one's kind of special because it also does offer an undergraduate degree in business. And I definitely think there are some people who are interested in business. So the way you would actually study business here at Berkeley is that you would apply to Berkeley and you would pick business as your major, but then for the first 2 years, you'll spend like technically like undeclared and taking like prerequisite classes. And then by the end of your second year, you'll apply into the Haas School of Business, into the business major. And then if you're accepted, at that point, then you're all good. You can study business. So it's kind of like applying to college like round 2, but that is the way business works here. And then for those who are interested, we actually have a program called the MET program, or the Management, Entrepreneurship, and Technology program, which basically allows you to get a degree in like an engineering field as well as a business degree at the same time. So it's a great opportunity for those who are interested more in entrepreneurship but still are interested in engineering. It's a really competitive program. There's, I think, less than like 100 students accepted every year, but it's worth a shot if you're really passionate about this kind of stuff. And then the other graduate schools are all listed here: education, information, law, social welfare, optometry, journalism, public health, and then public policy. And also a quick note, some, like many undergraduate departments also offer graduate programs. So for instance, like there's a graduate program for computer science and for math and for history, all the ones you might expect, but they're just not, they don't have like their own separate graduate school. It's just kind of, done through the department. And also a lot of these graduate schools offer classes that undergraduates can take. And so the School of Information, they offered like a front end web development class, and so I took it, and it was actually pretty useful. It was pretty fun. So always be on the lookout for any cool classes that might catch your eye. And then the pictures here, the left picture is of the Haas School of Business, which is personally what I think is one like the most beautiful areas on campus. It's really nice. It's really modern. I'm just into that stuff. The top right picture is the courtyard at our law school, and then the bottom right picture is South Hall. This is actually our oldest building that we have on campus, built in 1873, but it's actually home to the newest school, the newest graduate school, the School of Information. So the oldest building has the newest school, so that's kind of cool.
Thanks, Kevin. So we are going to shift gears a bit and talk a little bit about what it's like to be a student at Cal. So typically all of the courses that you take as a student will have 2 components. The first being lecture, which is probably what you're most familiar with. This is, a typical classroom setting. You will have any number of different students. It really varies depending on the course, but these are typically taught by the professor. Very few classes are taught by graduate students themselves. I would say most of them are professor-based. But on the off days, or at least once a week, you will have a smaller section called the discussion section. And these are all led by graduate student instructors, or GSIs, kind of the equivalent of a TA. Many of these graduate students are getting a master's or graduate degree in whatever course it is that you're studying. And both professors and graduate students both offer office hours. So these are blocked times in their schedules that they will introduce at the beginning of the semester. They'll say, hey, from 4 to 6 p.m. on Monday, I'll be in my office, I'll be in this cafe, I'll have my Zoom link open for students to come and chat. And this is a really great opportunity to get to know your professors, professionally, but also personally. You can ask them about their experience, how they got to where they are. You can network with them, or you could just ask class information. It's really hard to get all of the information that they know in their brains in the 50 or hour and a half lecture that you're in. So that's a really great opportunity to get to know your peers and get to know your professors better. In terms of class size, our official student faculty ratio is 19:1. However, keep in mind this value does include the discussion sections, which are typically 20 to 25 students at most. 81% of our classes do have fewer than 50 students, and you'll typically see this as you move up through your career at Berkeley. In your last 2 years or your last 3 years, you might be taking some smaller, more niche, more specific classes that do have fewer students. Many of our classes are also hands-on labs and studios. So I mentioned the College of Engineering has a number of those classes, College of Environmental Design does, really every college does. Myself, I have taken biology labs, chemistry labs, physics labs, all of those have been 20, 25 students. And it's a really great way to just practice the theory and the content that you're learning in the lecture format. And they really try to overlap those ideas to make sure that, whatever it is that you're learning in class on Tuesday, you're able to practice and see in real form on Thursday. So that's definitely something I appreciate. Finally, in terms of academic resources, of course, academia at Berkeley is rigorous, it is challenging, it hits you in a number of different ways, especially in your first semester. You really never know what you're in for until you start it, but I have found that there are so many resources that are available to students. Firstly, the Student Learning Center is our student-led tutoring center. Basically, they have a number of different tutors in a number of different departments giving tutoring from I think it's 8 a.m. to 5 or 6 p.m. all week, including weekends. You can also do something called an adjunct course. So for example, many of the math courses, they will have an additional 1-unit math adjunct course taught by a tutor within the Student Learning Center, kind of like an extra review session, but you're getting a unit for it, which is really great. And of course, you have individual advising. Many of the chemistry classes, for example, they have their own review groups and review session groups that you can definitely get help from. And of course, there's individual tutors and private tutors and things like that. So it might be overwhelming looking at the academic rigor at Cal, but I promise there are a number of resources, your professors, your grad students, peers, older students, they're really here to help you out.
All right, so this past year has been very different, obviously, due to COVID, and so the past 2 semesters have been fully remote. So everything is taught completely online to ensure that we're trying to stay safe and not put anybody's lives in danger. And so obviously the experience will be very different than what you would typically experience in a normal college life. So uh, the the university has done a lot to ensure that the students have a smooth transition and have all the resources necessary to have a successful online learning experience. So for instance, all students are given a Zoom Pro license, so you don't have to worry about meeting limits or meeting limit capacities. You can just go about your online learning experience smoothly, as well as making sure that we're keeping in mind students come from all over the world, so we shouldn't always force synchronous options and try to provide asynchronous options when possible, because someone across the world, the class time might be at 3 a.m., so it wouldn't be the most convenient thing. And of course, we still have all the resources that Navya has mentioned on the previous slide. We still have tutoring to ensure that if you're ever stuck in a class, you can always get the help you need. So yeah.
All right, so shifting gears a bit, you'll see another poll pop up on your screen. We're just wondering where y'all are joining us from: NorCal, SoCal, another state, another country, whatever it may be. We'd love to know, so please go ahead and answer that. So we want to talk a little bit about what housing is like at Berkeley. So typically our dorms are called the residential halls and the suites, and this will all be practiced through an application process. Essentially, once you accept your offer to come to UC Berkeley, the next sort of process is to fill out a housing application. Typically, freshmen do get priority. So just the only way to really, make sure you have the best shot of getting one of the options that you choose from. On the application, they'll ask you to rank 1 through 5 where you would like to live your freshman year. All of those options are available on the housing website. I believe it's like housing.berkeley.edu. So just look through those, get a sense of what the different dorms are. We have typical high-rise buildings, your dorms with your doubles, your triples, sharing communal bathrooms. We also have suite styles where you can live in a sort of mini apartment style living environment, which is where I lived my freshman year. So wherever you want to live, kind of rank those options. And for the very last option, choose the one that says something like, I want to live anywhere, any place, any type of arrangement. Typically, people do get something within their first 3 options. However, that last option, the anything option, gives you the best shot of getting an offer in the first place. So throughout the residence halls, there are a number of different resources that really make that experience what it is. Your residential assistant or your RA is kind of like your buddy, your mentor on your floor. They're an older student. They've already done the dorm thing. They know a little bit about what it's like to be a Berkeley student. So they're really there to help you. We have a number of theme programs as well. So some of our residence halls have specific floors and sections of the dorms that are meant for students within a certain identifying group. So we have an African American theme house program. We have a Latinx theme program. We have a global environment theme program in Clark Kerr, which is the top left picture. That's where I lived my freshman year, my personal favorite dorm, but of course I'm biased. So really take some time to look through that and get a sense of what it's like to be a Berkeley dorm student on the housing website. One thing to note is that when you do get your housing offer from the university, that cost or that amount does include a meal plan. So every single residence hall has its own assigned dining hall. However, you can go to any of the dining halls on campus, and there are also a few places on campus that you can use your points or use your swipes, whatever it may be. So definitely check that out. Of course, housing during COVID-19 has been a little bit different. Previously, as I mentioned, we've had singles, doubles, triples, quads, a number of different arrangements. However, in the past year, all of those options have transitioned into fully single rooms. So all students get single rooms. All students are required to wear face masks at all times if you're going outside of your room. Students are allowed to form social pods, perhaps with people on their floor. However, we do ask that all students, again, they're being as safe as possible. They are getting tested at least twice a week, and they're being a little bit cautious. So that's a rough outline of what it's like typically your freshman year or your first year. It looks like a number of you are coming from NorCal. There's some from SoCal. We have some students in the Eastern time zone. So wherever you're coming from, I promise living in the dorms is a great opportunity. You don't have to live in the dorms if you don't want to, but again, I highly, highly recommend it.
All right, so housing is typically usually only guaranteed for incoming freshmen. And so what a lot of continuing students, what they end up doing is they will just move out of the dorms into other housing options in the surrounding area. So of course you could always continue living on campus. You could always apply again. I don't think it's like guaranteed, but generally there's a high probability you would get something. There's also specific dorms that are only for continuing students. So the 2 right pictures feature Channing Bowditch and Martinez Commons, 2 of these dorms. They're both only for continuing students. They're actually right across the street from each other. So if you're interested in still kind of having that dorm life, and this would be a good option. International house is another option. Basically, a lot of transfer students or study abroad students from other universities will live here for the semester or the year that they're here. But this option is also open for just students in general. And it would be a good option for you if you're interested in learning more, I guess, about like the culture of other people's countries and stuff like that. What the majority of people end up doing though is they just find an apartment with a couple of their friends, like a 2-bedroom apartment or a 3-bedroom, and they will just kind of rent the place together. So that's the most popular option. For those who are looking for more affordable options, co-op housing is a good option because basically like you live in kind of like a big building or a house of some kind, and the rent ends up being like really cheap usually, but you kind of like have to do like weekly tasks around the house, and so like these tasks or chores kind of, I guess, contribute to your rent which is why it's cheaper, but it's a really good cost-effective option. Lastly, if you are part of like Greek life, like a fraternity or sorority, your fraternity or sorority may offer um, housing options for you to live in. So you can look into that as well. Of course, you don't have to, if you, after you move out, you can choose to get a meal plan to kind of continue um, dining in the dining halls if you really love that food. Of course, you don't have to. And of course, if you're interested in finding more information about housing, there's a lot more information on our website, housing.berkeley.edu. There's actually like virtual tours. So if you're interested, definitely visit that website and learn more about housing there.
Great. So next we wanted to quickly touch on health and safety at UC Berkeley. I know this is something that my parents were really interested in learning about. So in terms of health resources, we do have our very own health center. That is the Tang Center that you're seeing in the photos. The Tang Center does offer urgent care, primary care, physical therapy. All students are required to have some form of health insurance. If that is not available to you outside of school, UC Berkeley does offer their very own student health insurance that you can absolutely pay into, and then you can use all those amenities. COVID testing and tracing, again, is something that is available to all students completely free of charge, regardless if you have the student health insurance. And I really recommend that you take advantage of the Tang Center website and get a sense of what it's like to be a UC Berkeley student with access to those resources. Psychological counseling and therapy sessions are something that has been incredibly useful to me as a student, but especially in the past year. All of our therapy sessions have moved completely remote. They are all anonymous. They are all unlimited number of therapy sessions, again, completely free of charge. Doesn't matter if you have that student health insurance. Path to Care is a really special center that is leading efforts to transform our campus into a community that is free of sexual violence, harassment, intimate partner violence, stalking, and primarily they do this through prevention, advocacy, training, and healing. I think that's something that is absolutely incredible that Berkeley does. We do also have an optometry eye center where you can get free eye checkups. And there are a number of different stress relief events and programs that are offered across the entire year. One of my favorites is called Llama Palooza, where the school literally brings out llamas onto this giant grassy area on campus, and you just get to hang out with llamas in between your classes. So I think that's another very special feature of Berkeley.
Okay, and then the other half of health and safety is safety. So our campus wants to ensure that students never feel like they're in danger on campus and have a safe experience here. So there's a few resources that the university provides. So first one, of course, is we have our own uh, police department. So any incidents that happen on our campus will be resolved through our own police department. We also have these blue light poles that are scattered throughout our campus. It's pictured in the bottom left. And so if you ever need to get in direct contact with the UCPD, you can go there and connect with them. And if you need immediate assistance, you could let them know and they can get to your location very, very quickly. So that's really useful if you ever feel like you need immediate assistance. We also have a warning system that kind of tells you if there's any activity happening on campus or in the surrounding area that you should be aware of. This is known as Warn Me. So if anything happens, you'll receive like a text message or an email that kind of outlines the incident, and that's really useful, especially if the incident isn't too major. For instance, like if they say like, oh, something's going on at Sprout Plaza, you as a student can just make a mental note saying, oh, I can just avoid that area for the time being and just walk around it. All of our residence halls are also they have a 3-point security system, which basically means that there's like 3 checkpoints you have to go through in order to reach your own dorm. So the first one is you need to swipe in through the building, and those only residents in that building have the ability to get in. And then if it's late at night, there's also a security monitor that sits by the entrance who has you check in with them again to ensure that you actually are a resident of the building. And then finally, you'll have your own keys to your own room that only you and or your roommates may have. So 3 levels of security, so it's really safe. Also at night, there's a few services offered. So there's a night safety shuttle that runs throughout the surrounding area. And so if you're on campus late at night and you need to get somewhere and the shuttle happens to go along that path, this is really convenient. So you don't have to walk in the dark by yourself. Also, Bear Walk uh, is similar, except that like uh, if you ever need to get somewhere, you can call someone. They'll come and like pick you up. It's a free service, and they'll escort you like wherever you need to go. So if maybe the place you're going isn't along the safety shuttle's route, Bear Walk is another good alternative.
All right, so throughout the tour, we've been mentioning that Berkeley has a number of student resources available. Here we have listed many student development organizations and centers across UC Berkeley. I won't go through all of them. However, I really recommend that you take some time to do your research, especially if you are a new admit and you want to understand what some of these centers are. Go ahead and take a picture of something if that's useful to you. But we have great organizations here, really great different interest groups, cultural groups, different needs and requirements for all students. There's really always a place for you. Just like Kevin said, might be a big campus, but there's really some ways to make it feel smaller and feel a lot more homely. And these are just some of the centers that are able to do that.
All right. We also mentioned that Berkeley is, not all about just studying and grinding. We also like to have fun. So here's a few things that students can do. So if you're really passionate about something, chances are you'll find a student organization that also, has the same interest as you. So if we have over 1,000, so you can definitely join as many as you want. You can also start your own if you don't find something. We're also really passionate about volunteering here. So, one thing we do every year is the Berkeley Project, where students on our campus, we kind of volunteer throughout the surrounding community to kind of give back to the community, which is, providing us with such a great education. There's also employment opportunities, both well, yeah, so there's employment resources, so there's ways for you to get jobs on campus as well as help you get jobs elsewhere. So the Career Center provides tons of services like mock interviews, resume reviews. They also actually host, like some companies actually host their interviews in the Career Center. Um, our location is really prime as well, located right in the middle. Well, not right in the middle of Silicon Valley, but like really close to it basically. And so there's lots of internship opportunities, like both, within STEM fields and non-STEM fields. If you're interested in studying abroad, well, you're in luck because Berkeley has one of the largest study abroad programs in the world. Since we are like one of the oldest universities, we have great partnerships with many universities around the world. So chances are the place you want to go to does have a study abroad program, and you can go and study and you can, work towards a degree at the same time. You won't have to push your graduation back. And also, the Bay Area is such a great place. Definitely take some time to explore the surrounding area if you can. San Francisco is only a short BART ride away, so I like to go there sometimes when I have free time. So definitely take advantage of that.
Great. So similarly, outside of academics, we do have a number of different athletic options available to students. All of our teams have 3 levels of competition. There's Division 1, which is typically your professional level that you do need to be recruited for. However, if you're interested in maybe continuing a sport you did in high school or just growing up or something you want to try completely new, we do have club and intramural teams that you can take part in. You can just make for example, a basketball team with like 6 or 7 of your friends and just play in the league once a week or something like that. So that's absolutely available to you. If you just like to stay active, if you want to have access to a weight room, have access to classes, both virtually and in person, we do have a number of gyms across campus, one that is in California Memorial Stadium where the football team plays. There's also some courses offered in the recreational sports facility where you can take yoga classes, for example. Haas Pavilion is where our basketball team plays. That's what you're seeing in the bottom right-hand corner. And in fact, our athletic department is very, very well known. We have 207 Olympic medals. And I believe our head swimming coach is leading the USA swimming Olympic team in the next Olympics. So that's really exciting.
All right, so really quickly, a few, I guess, resources that are offered during online learning. So a lot of like clubs and organizations still have been continuing their efforts online. Everything is just done through Zoom, so nothing is really being halted. For instance, my club Innova, we're still teaching online to kids, so they're trying to stay as connected as they can during the pandemic. Departments have also been offering professional development like webinars for you to kind of develop yourself. There's also a few guest lecturers that come in and speak. So a while ago, Dylan O'Brien came and spoke, and there's a ton of other guest lecturers that come. So they're a lot of fun to listen to. And lastly, Golden Bear orientation, which is for new and incoming students. This is also happening online, of course, and it's a great way for you to kind of get acquainted with Berkeley and familiar with kind of everything that's happening. So that's a great experience, and it's really great that it's still happening online.
Great. So we keep talking about libraries and research, definitely as the #1 public research university. This is something very central to student life. We have 24 official libraries, over 13 million volumes in texts and books that are completely available to students free of charge. I really love our libraries, definitely something I miss about the in-person experience, but I highly recommend whenever you're able to do so that you come and check out Berkeley and maybe step foot into some of our libraries. Top left picture is Doe Library. This is our big public library. Looks exactly like Hogwarts, in my opinion. One of the many reasons why I love Berkeley libraries. Research is something you can absolutely do as an undergrad as early as your second semester of your freshman year. There's an online application called Europe. However, most of our departments offer their own departmental opportunities. You could also do something that I did, which was just cold email and cold call any professors or grad students or postdocs that are doing research that you are interested in. I promise there's a project out there just waiting for you. You just have to kind of seek out the opportunities that are there. Similar to what I was just saying, research is, of course, a very central part to being the UC Berkeley community. I mentioned Dr. Jennifer Doudna just won the Nobel Prize in Chemistry for the development of genome editing through CRISPR, if that's something you maybe learned in AP Biology or something like that. Dr. Reinhard Genzel just won the 2020 Nobel Prize for Physics for the discovery of a supermassive compact object at the center of our galaxy, which I have no idea what that means, but it sounds incredible. So really great to say that we're part of this community.
All right, our last slide here before we go into Q&A, a few of the highlights around our campus. There's actually a surprising amount of nature on our campus, considering we're located right in the middle of a city. So the bottom two pictures, the left one shows the eucalyptus grove. So if you ever enter campus from the west side, you'll walk through this, basically a forest. It's really cool. And then the bottom the bottom middle picture shows Strawberry Creek, that creek I mentioned earlier that runs throughout the entire campus. And then the top left is a picture of a squirrel. And you might ask, like, why is there a squirrel? It's because we just have lots of squirrels on campus. So if you're ever around campus, you'll definitely run into a lot of them. And then the top two pictures show kind of the surrounding Bay Area. So like I said before, definitely take advantage of being located in such a great area and try to explore as much as you can.
Awesome. Thank you so much to Kevin and Navya for that wonderful tour. And thank you to our attendees for sending all those wonderful questions to our Q&A function. So we'll be jumping right in, starting with our first question, which is for Navya. Someone asked, can you double major across different colleges? And since you're a double major too within the same college though, we just want to ask about how was your double major experience?
Yeah, that's a great question. So the first part of the question, double majoring across different colleges. I'm lucky enough to be double majoring within the same college. However, I have a number of friends who are doing multiple disciplines. So I have a friend who is a bioengineering major, but she's also getting an art degree in the College of Letters and Science. So for things like different college, double majoring across different colleges, it is of course a little bit more tedious in the sense that you have to really keep track of all the requirements. I highly recommend that if that's something you want to do, you really meet with the advisors for both colleges, make a 4-year plan for yourself, or whenever it is that you decide to double major, make a plan for every semester, roughly what classes I need to take, make sure you have all the requirements done. It's absolutely doable, but again, you just kind of have to stay organized, really kind of stay on top of your stuff and take advantage of those advising appointments. So for me, I am double majoring in public health and biology, both within the College of Letters and Science. What's really great for me is that these disciplines do have some overlap. So I'm able to use 2 of my classes in either major and they will count for requirements on both ends, which has been super helpful. But again, it's kind of the similar process of needing to stay organized. I have a life plan, a 4-year plan that I made for myself. In fact, I had like 4 different versions of it because there's a number of ways to double major. You have to figure out which path is best for you. So I have really enjoyed my double major, kind of getting the nitty gritty science in my bio major, but learning the more social population health aspect in public health it's been a really stellar opportunity and just a really great way to get the most out of the Berkeley academic experience.
Yeah, thank you so much, Navya. And I agree, planning is definitely a very important part of it. I just like to mention again, adding on to what Navya was saying, we definitely have advisors that are very helpful when it comes to plan out those schedules with you. Okay, I do want to squeeze in a quick question for Kevin before we move on to our last question. That is, someone asked, what do students typically do outside of class or on weekends? Or you can just tell us about what's your favorite outside of class activity to do over here in Berkeley.
Yeah, I think what a lot of students do outside of class just ends up being kind of the extracurriculars that they're involved with. So, uh, Navi and I, we both do research, so we spend some time doing that. And then for me personally, we teach every week, so I spend a lot of time kind of not only teaching but working on developing material, stuff like that. A lot of people also, especially on weekends, they like to go to SF, like I mentioned earlier. It's literally just a short BART ride away, and there's so much to do there. Um, and then for those, who like sports and hiking, there's really nice trails in the Berkeley area. So the fire trails are kind of like behind one of our dorm areas, and then there's a nice hike called like the Big C hike. You basically like go to the top, and there's like a big C, like for Cal, and you can kind of like see into the entire campus area. It's really, really pretty. Um, and of course, like we mentioned, sports. So maybe you're on a sports team, so you have practice. Also, like intramural sports, you'll play like once a week, and you'll meet up with your friends. There's just a lot for students to do. Um, so yeah.
Yeah, I think I've heard someone say if you come to Berkeley, you're just never going to be bored because there's a lot of things from different aspects you can do. And I definitely 100% agree with that. Okay, and I want to close off today's Q&A session with the most important question that everyone want to hear the answers to. That is, why did you choose Berkeley and what is your Berkeley story? So let's start with Navia first.
Sure. So, as I mentioned at the beginning of the tour, I did actually grow up on the East Coast. I grew up in Massachusetts before coming to Dublin and the Bay Area for high school. So, it was always in the back of my mind that I had planned to go back to the East Coast for college. I was really set on going back, quote, home. But when I got into Berkeley, which was one of the colleges that I just kind of applied to for the sake of applying, it was another box to check off on the UC application. And it felt like, the right thing to do. You might as well apply to the number one public university. But when I got in, I was completely stunned. I really thought they had made a mistake or something. I was completely shocked. So I decided that I really wanted to take that decision seriously. I didn't want to take it lightly. So I came to Cal Day, which is our large, really great open house day this year because it is virtual. We do have the benefit of having it across an entire week, which I think is a great opportunity. And the basic idea is that you get a sense of what Berkeley is all about. There are student panels. So I went to a pre-med panel about students who are pre-med and where they had gone into medical school. I went to a biology open laboratory section where you can go check out the lab, talk to some professors. You get to also meet a lot of student and student groups. So you can meet clubs and different activities that you might want to get involved in. And really at the end of that day, I went into that day not really having an idea of where I wanted to go, but I left really feeling committed to Berkeley. As I mentioned previously, the energy that you feel on campus is incredibly infectious. You really feel it the second you step on campus. And perhaps even in the virtual setting today, you felt the same. But I knew I wanted to be somewhere where I could explore my different interests. I didn't want to feel fixed into a box or fixed onto this linear path to med school. I really wanted to have the opportunity to take music classes, be a tour guide, do completely unconventional things that are all there to help develop my sense of self and my sense of self as a student and just as a person, giving back to the community. So I think that's something that I really appreciated about Berkeley, that campus culture is something that is really great, really unparalleled, and I think completely unique, and definitely the reason why I chose to come to Cal.
Thank you so much, Navia. And can we go to Kevin next?
All right. I don't think my story will be as exciting as Navia's, but anyways, so when I was deciding between college or universities, it was basically just between like Berkeley and UCLA. And it's a hard choice, right? Two great universities who are both top ranked, but it's really hard to decide. So I went to like UCLA's like Bruin Day first, which is basically the same as like Cal Day, but just for UCLA. And uh, by the time I left, I was so close. They almost had me. I was really close to just doing it and signing it and just going. But then my parents, they like convinced me. They're like, "Oh, Kevin, like you have to go to Berkeley first. You have to experience it. I think you'll make a mistake if you just choose UCLA right now." So I was like, "Okay, okay, fine." So then I went, and I'm really glad I finally listened to them for once because it was just a completely different feeling. Like I felt like a whole different like culture and environment there, like or I guess here. Um, and it was clear that the students there cared a lot about what they were studying, and it's also great to kind of be surrounded by like a complete diverse group of people. And it really helps broaden your perspective on the world because especially since I come from like an area that's like pretty homogenous, it's just a lot of similar people, and coming to Berkeley there's a ton of diverse viewpoints. So my horizon has definitely been expanded, but also like the opportunities provided at Berkeley, especially for like computer science, are unrivaled. So I think I was really saved by coming here. So yeah, that's my story.
Thank you. Thank you both for sharing your stories. I definitely agree with all of you that, this culture in Berkeley is very unique and it's actually a very inspiring environment to be in, to be challenging yourself and becoming best versions of yourself. So once again, thank you, Kevin and Navya, for sharing your Berkeley experience with all of us. And before we officially end today's tour, I just want to share a couple of resources for our attendees who stay in touch with us. So we're very excited to release our UVisit tour at uvisit.com/Berkeley. So this is something that we just created and published, so you can take a virtual guided tour through our entire physical campus with 360-degree views. It's pretty cool. Highly recommend checking that out. You can follow us on Instagram at Visit UC Berkeley. If you have any more questions, please email them to tour@berkeley.edu, and a student campus ambassador just like us will be answering your questions and getting back to you. If you want to read blogs written by our ambassadors, please visit Bear Talk blog at beartalk.berkeley.edu. Like I said in the beginning, different versions of this recorded virtual visits are available on our YouTube channel if you just look up at Visit UC Berkeley. You can read UC Berkeley COVID-19 resources at coronavirus.berkeley.edu. I also recommend checking out 150w.berkeley.edu to see all the amazing things that women has contributed to this campus in the last 150 years. You can sign up for admissions presentation at admissions.berkeley.edu/visit. Lastly, if you're interested in our campus ambassador student panel, which is just 1 hour of Q&A live, or engineering visit, please sign up at visit.berkeley.edu. And thank you again for spending an hour of your day with us today here at Virtual Berkeley. We finished everything here with a Go Bears. So I'm going to be inviting Navya and Kevin to unmute and do the cheers with me on 3. If you guys are ready, we'll go 1, 2, 3. Go.
Go
Go
Bears!
Bears!
Thank you, everyone. Have a nice day.